All right, folks, welcome back. We've got another one for you tonight. I'm actually going to be just let the video play because it speaks for itself. We've heard nothing since long before the official vote to have an impeachment investigation that there is evidence in plain sight and that this did happen and that it is a foregone conclusion, and yet we've not been allowed to see any of the evidence. We've had members of Congress who are Republicans state that they have been kept out of hearings. We have Schiff on TV telling a witness to not answer a Republican congressman's question. We had the Mueller investigation where Mueller first tried to say that he only proved that President Trump is not guilty. Not guilty is not a thing. Literally, he said, since I couldn't prove it, we're going to say he's guilty. You don't prove innocence. You don't prove a negative. And before anyone says anything about this being a civil scenario, it's not. You cannot impeach a president for a civil anything, okay? It's just not possible. You literally only can impeach for high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, if you are accusing someone of high crimes and misdemeanors, then it is a criminal investigation. Barack Obama invoked executive privilege multiple times. No one said a word. No one said boo. But because it's Donald Trump and the Democrats who, for the last 70-odd years, have been unwilling to accept that they are not the only people to win elections, and thus have tried to impeach every Republican president since Eisenhower, have now decided that the Fifth Amendment and executive privilege do not apply to anyone they call. Now, this is Congressman Eric Swalwell talking to CNN, stating that if you don't show up and let us have witnesses to testify, basically if you don't compel testimony, you're guilty. Meaning that what he said is if you aren't willing to come before us and testify and answer everything we ask, no matter what, you're guilty. Now, I have said before that anyone flat out saying, I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights, does have questions to ask or to answer. But that said, it does not matter. If I'm accused of a crime and I say I plead the Fifth, the judge cannot then go, okay, guilty, go to jail. If I'm the one witness they have and I plead the Fifth, that means I'm not going to talk, and silence is not evidence. Now, as I said, Schiff has multiple times claimed that there is evidence in plain sight, yet he will not say what that evidence is. We have multiple reports from Republican congressmen and women, stating that the Democrats were holding secret meetings. We had the meeting in the SCIF where they would not allow people in, even though people were on committees. They assigned the investigation to other committees that should not have been heading the investigation so that they could keep people out. But let's take a listen to Swalwell.
Send us the witnesses who you continue to block from us hearing, because unless you send those to us, we can only conclude that you're guilty. Because in America, innocent men do not hide and conceal evidence. In fact, Wolf, they do just the opposite. They are forthcoming and they want to cooperate. And the president is acting like a very guilty person right now.
So you just heard Swalwell. Now, this is, to me, honestly, one of the more grievous things he's done and said on TV or anywhere. We all know about when he told an American citizen who said they would not be willingly disarmed, well, we have nukes. And he tried to play it off. Too many of them, but it'd be a short war. He tried to play it off as joking. But for a party who has cried and moaned and complained about who has control of the button, for him to openly say, disarm or we have nukes, proves he is a man with zero conscience and zero morals. He has lied repeatedly about this impeachment. What evidence, Congressman? You see, I used to be a law enforcement official. I have studied history and political science extensively. Ostensibly, it was to be a teacher, although since I am not a coach, I cannot therefore teach social studies. But I know the American justice system. I have observed criminal and civil trials. There is no possible way that anyone ruling on a case should or would ever say, as you have no evidence of your innocence, we find you guilty. No judge that would not be impeached would ever say, oh, you plead the fifth? That means you're guilty. You have that right. It is the Fifth Amendment. Literally among the first amendments passed. But for a man who thinks that the Second Amendment is merely a suggestion, and that he, a junior, or not a junior, but just one of 435 members of Congress, can say, disarm now, and expect it to happen, proves he's a tyrant in the making. Now he's literally saying, if I tell you to testify, you will testify. I am your ruler. Look through history at countries where citizens were not allowed to remain silent. Look at the 1960s when the Miranda case gave us the infamous Miranda rights. Now, I said I was law enforcement, and I was for a year. Hated it. I'm not a cop. I'm a firefighter. And those are two very different mindsets. It's much like when you talk to someone who is in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the National Guard, and you ask them why they did not go into a different branch. Yes, there are those who go into a certain branch because they want a specific job. There are those that go Navy or Marines because they want SEAL team. And that is something all unto itself. But I have friends of mine who went into the Marine Corps. One of them hated his entire tour and got out and said, I'm not a Marine. He later enlisted in the Army and stayed for about, I believe, 4 enlistments. There are defined mindsets for certain jobs. As a cop, you have to be able to not only go into dangerous situations, but you take control and you literally stop everything happening if you can. As a firefighter, yes, I'm there to save lives, and I'm there to make property safe when it was burning. But there are times when you say, I can't fight this, and you let it burn. And I have, thankfully it was only a training exercise, but I have rolled up on a fire that was purposefully allowed to get out of control. And we tried to approach and couldn't. And the training commander literally said, let it burn. And we changed our angle of attack to soaking everything around it, and we had to sit and watch it burn. We could not do anything. Totally different mindsets. But you can't ever say that you are a member of the United States government when your mindset is, obey me. Pelosi has proven it. Schiff has proven it. Nadler has proven it. Waters, AOC, Schumer, Swalwell, Booker, Harris, all of them have proven it. When you have a member like Dianne Feinstein, who is one of the most vocal gun control idiots on the planet, who openly admits that she illegally carried a pistol when she was very young and working in California because she lived or had to go through a bad neighborhood. That's a literal admission of, well, I needed to protect myself, but you don't have that right. We have members of Congress on record saying that they deserve protection. We don't. And now we have a member of Congress saying that you don't have the Fifth Amendment if I say you don't have it. Congressman Swalwell, that is dangerous. Having studied history, I can tell you that is the road to brutal subjugation of a people. And if you want to see what that road even being looked at causes, look at Virginia. My previous 2 videos were on that subject. One, just discussing how Northam allegedly planned to cut power, phones, cell service, internet, everything, to aid in confiscation of firearms. Then further explaining why I think it would fail utterly. Now, and I'll talk about this another time more in depth, but Virginia now has actively called the militia to service. The militia is a civilian organization. I firmly believe that if Northam goes ahead with his plan to subjugate the people of Virginia, the National Guard, the vast majority of police, and others that he would order to do so would walk off their post, leave their badge or their insignia behind, and join the militia as civilians, because they swore an oath to defend the Constitution and to obey the law. And there is no higher law than the Constitution. But Congressman Swalwell seems to think that the law is what he says at any moment. And that's just not true. You see, there are reasons, multiple reasons, why someone may not testify. They may not have the clearance to speak on a topic. They may not be able to without endangering other aspects of the government. They may also realize that it's a kangaroo court where the verdict has already been decided before anything begins. Now, according to all reports, impeachment passed tonight. And the Democrats are going to slow walk this to the Senate. I personally won't be surprised to see this just luckily happen to make it to the Senate right when the primaries begin. So that they can say, well, no, Trump, you have to testify every day. We're just going to keep, we have so many questions. You're going to be here for 3 months to try and influence and affect the 2020 election. What they don't realize, and what Congressman Swalwell will never realize, is that every time they open their mouth, they drive people away from the DNC in droves. Look at any of their Twitter feeds. Look at any of the conversations they're having on Twitter, where you can see people are finally waking up to the simple fact that the Democratic Party is the party of, you didn't vote for us? We will undo that election so that you must vote for us. They have tried since Eisenhower to impeach every Republican president. Nixon probably would have been impeached had he not resigned. Now, we know for a fact that he did destroy evidence. I would not have tried to protect him had that been brought up at trial. He did erase tape. He resigned. He did the right thing. Unfortunately, that gave us Carter just a few years later. Reagan, they tried to impeach for Iran-Contra, and Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North fell on his sword for the president. George Herbert Walker Bush, they tried, never did. George W. Bush, they tried, and then luckily they did have a brain, and they were not the party of, we've just been attacked by terrorists, we need to impeach the president. Because that would have been disastrous for them. They still kept trying in secret, I know. They still talked about it every time they got together. How do we impeach him? How do we impeach him? I think, honestly, the one thing that saved us from impeachment from 2001 to 9 is the fear of a Dick Cheney presidency. Barack Obama had Fast and Furious and so many other scandals, yet they protected him. They scream and yell how the 1998 impeachment of Clinton was politically motivated when we have proof he lied under oath. You cannot say, it's my executive privilege to break the law. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. He did. And then he lied. He was impeached, and then it stopped. That was literally we're going to put this on the record. And there was no reason to fight it. Honestly, they should have just gone for censure, not impeachment, because he could not run for another term in 2000. It did, I'm sure, affect some people that probably would have voted for Gore, but that's now in the past. They scream and yell about children in cages, ignoring that Obama did it. They scream and yell about executive privilege, ignoring that Obama did it. They cry and they cry and they cry, and then one of them goes on TV and says something so monumentally stupid, like, if we need witnesses, you cannot deny witnesses. When in their very House chambers, we've had people during the Mueller hearings plead the fifth. Personally, I would have told the president, don't stop them. Tell them, go and plead the fifth. Just so we actually get them on camera saying, you can't do that, you must answer. Maybe if the people of California watched in an official hearing Swalwell or Harris or Feinstein or Pelosi or any of them say, you may not plead the fifth, you must answer. Maybe if we got them on camera actually saying, you have no rights, they'd wake up. Sadly, we may never know, because the illegals in California ensure the Democrats who get them all sorts of free crap paid for by us stay in office. But I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. I'm going to link to the Twitter thread that had this tweet in it, this video in it, but the video also will be in line in here. What's it going to take for people like Swalwell to finally be voted out of office? Is it going to take him standing in his district, ordering people to line up and be arrested if they don't disarm? Is it going to take him actually saying, we will kill you if you don't obey? If we get to that point, the country will have fractured long before. And sadly, the Democrats will go down in history either as having destroyed their own party or destroyed the country. I don't know which one's going to happen. But as always, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe so that I can maybe make a go of this. I don't have any set schedule. I realized that my trying to do the news reactions just, it's not me. And if I'm not putting out good quality content that I feel is what I should be putting out, then I'm not going to put it out. I'm still going to respond. I mean, this is newsworthy. This is news. But it's different for me. It's more targeted. But again, please subscribe and go on and leave a like and leave a comment. Just remember, keep it civil. We do not learn from arguments. We don't learn from screaming matches or insults. We learn from a debate. We're adults here. We need to act like it. I have before, and I will again, ban people from the channel and block them completely if they get out of line and act like the thugs in masks that we watch on TV in Portland and Seattle and the rest. That is not behavior that I will allow to take over my comments. Disagree all you want. Disagreement is where we spark debate and both sides can learn. But stay civil. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.